Today, we're diving deep into the intricate world of automatic transmission and transaxle maintenance, specifically focusing on the detailed inspection and assembly processes outlined in the ASE test preparation material from Del Mar Cengage Learning. Alex, the sheer number of components and steps involved seems daunting. Where do we even begin when inspecting something like transaxle drive chains?
It's true, Eloise. The level of detail is critical for proper function. When we look at transaxle drive chains, the primary inspection points are side play and stretch. These aren't just one-time checks, they're done during disassembly and then re-verified during reassembly. For some transaxles, you'd measure chain deflection directly between the centers of the two sprockets, and typically very little deflection is tolerated.
So it's a precise measurement, not just a visual check. But the text mentions different manufacturers have varying procedures. Can you give an example of a more involved measurement?
Certainly. One method involves deflecting the chain inward until it's tight, marking the housing at that point, then deflecting the chain outward on the same side until it's tight again, marking the housing. The distance between those two marks is then measured against specifications. If it exceeds the limit, the drive chain needs replacement. It's also vital to look for identification marks, which might indicate the top or bottom of the chain, ensuring it's reinstalled in its exact original position. The removal and installation on some units also requires spreading the sprocket slightly, which needs to be done just the correct amount.
That makes sense for maintaining original wear patterns. And what about the sprockets and bearings that work with these chains?
Sprockets must be inspected for tooth wear, especially if the chain showed slack. Worn chains can cause similar sprocket wear as a stretched timing chain on engine gears. A slightly polished appearance on the gear face is normal, but anything more indicates an issue. Bearings and bushings supporting these sprockets need close scrutiny for damage. Radial needle thrust bearings, for instance, require checking for any deterioration of the needles and their cage, and the running surface in the sprocket itself must be checked for indentations caused by the needles. Bushing should also be checked for scoring or flaking.
Moving from the drive chains, the final drive components also seem to require meticulous inspection. What are the main points there, especially with the different types of final drive units?
For final drive units, you're examining every gear, thrust washer, and shaft for signs of damage like chipping, breakage, overheating, or scoring. Whether it's a hypoid, helical, or planetary gear unit, the principles are similar. For hypoid and helical types, you check for worn or chipped teeth, overloaded tapered roller bearings, and excessive wear in the differential side and pinion gears. Excessive play here is a common cause of what technicians call engagement clunk. Planetary types must also be checked for pinion gear looseness on their shafts and for end play. It's crucial to measure clearances between side gears and the differential case and the fit of pinion gears on their shaft, always referencing the shop manual for proper specifications. You must also ensure you use the same gear ratios during reassembly if multiple ratios are available for that transaxle type.
And this mention of preload with shims for side bearings, that sounds like a very fine adjustment.
It is. Some final drive units use shims to preload the side bearings. Selecting the correct shim size is essential to bring the unit into specification, which you verify by measuring rotating torque with a torque wrench. A critical note here is that used bearings aren't set to the same preload as new ones. They're typically set to about half the preload or to the value found during teardown. And always install new seals during assembly, regardless of the condition of other reusable parts.
That's a good reminder for basic best practices. Let's shift to assembly. After all these inspections and repairs, what are the absolute must-dos to ensure a successful rebuild?
Cleanliness is paramount during assembly. Any dirt or debris can clog fluid passages or cause valves to stick. Preparation is also key. Bands and clutch discs need to soak in ATF for about 30 minutes, and all O-rings and seals should be prelued with an approved lubricant. Never install a dry seal. Lubricate all internal components with metal-to-metal contact like bearings and gear sets. You must also avoid overusing sealers, as excess material can break off and block passages. Refer to service information for clearance and end play checks, which are often adjusted with shims or thrust washers. Also be sure clutch pack clearances are within spec and bands are properly adjusted, often using selective servo pins or adjustment screws.
It sounds like a delicate balance. And what about the final stages, like installing the pump and the torque converter?
For the pump, guide pins and seal compressors can significantly ease installation. Before the valve body goes in, it's highly recommended to air test the clutches and bands. You apply low-pressure air to the hydraulic passages. A clunk means it engages correctly, while a hissing sound indicates a leak. When installing the valve body, assembly lube helps hold check balls in place, and you must follow the proper torque sequence for the bolts. Finally, for the torque converter, pour about a quart of transmission fluid into it before installation. Crucially, ensure it fully engages the pump. If you measured its depth before removal, you can use that to confirm proper engagement now. Failure to